Hey guys, Stephanie here, and I'm back with more movie chatter. And if this is your first time here, I want to thank you for checking out my channel. If you're a regular, welcome back. This is a movie channel, so everything I talk about here is movie related. I do reviews, top 10 lists, collection updates, and videos like the one I'm doing today that I post every week where I give you guys a few choices for Blu-rays and rentals to watch at home, as well as a few picks for people who want to head out and see a movie in the theater. So if this is the type of content you're interested in, this is the point where I tell you to hit that subscribe button and the bell notification so you'll know when I upload my videos. And I don't have any big channel news. Everything's pretty status quo and quiet over here, so I'm just going to get right into my picks. And my first one is The Yellowbirds. And this is one that I saw show up on a lot of social media and movie threads, and all the reviews were kind of marginal to not so great. So I kind of just put it out of my head and didn't give it a second look. Even though it has a really good cast, Ty Sheridan, Toni Collette, Jennifer Aniston, and it sounded like a good premise, but the reviews were bad, so I put it out the window. And then I went over to my friend Jay's channel, Absolute Sublime 1. You guys have heard me talk about Jay's channel before, and he just happened to pull this movie out of a random pile of movies that he was reviewing. And he said that he thought this was getting some unfair criticism, and he went so far as to say that this was one of his favorite movies of this year. Naturally, I went out and I picked it up, and I have to say, I agree with Jay's assessment. I think this has gotten some real unnecessary criticism, and I think this is a solid movie from beginning to end. I enjoyed every bit of it. So let me give you a brief synopsis, and then hopefully you guys will take a chance and take a look at this also. We meet our main characters, Murph and Bartle, and we find out right from the start that Murph, played by Ty Sheridan, who you probably remember from Ready Player One, has gone missing. He is a missing soldier. And then we see through flashbacks how we got to this point where he is missing. And we see how Murph and Bartle became friends during training. Bartle's a little older. He's 21. Murph is only 18. And their sergeant kind of tells Bartle to keep an eye on Murph, hang close to him, and they end up getting deployed together. But before they're deployed, the base has a dinner for the families of the soldiers being deployed, and this is the point where Bartle meets Murph's mother, played by Jennifer Aniston. And at the end of the night, she kind of pulls him aside and she said, "Listen, keep an eye on him over there, and if anything should happen to him, I want to hear it from you first. Please promise me that." So he makes her this promise, and he takes it to heart, and he totally promises her that whatever happens, she will hear it from him. So we now know that Murph is missing, and we see the reality. This is a bleak, dark, almost depressing look at the realities of what happens when these guys and gals are deployed to these areas. We see the IEDs going off. We see what happens when they go on these missions and they come across these decapitated bodies that they believe are body bombs. And we see how they try to, they try to lighten the mood by having a party at the base, and all of a sudden the base has explosions going off all around it, and the base is actually bombed at one point, and people are killed and injured. And it's just a really tough look at the realities of what these kids and young people are facing over there. And at one point we see Murph sustains an injury. And it's not a life-threatening injury. He gets some shrapnel in his shin, I believe. And he's taken to the hospital where he is treated by a very kind nurse. And she's helping get him through the whole process of pulling all the shrapnel out of his shin. And this is the point where we really see that Murph is really starting to become emotionally undone. He is physically exhausted, as they all are, and he's really starting to come undone. And Bartle tells us, because he's narrating, he says that, Murph shouldn't have even been out on any more missions. But after the base is bombed, they decide to send them all out on another mission, and this is where, Murph is in kind of a zombie-like state. He's not speaking to anyone. He's just kind of wandering through the motions, and this is the point where he goes missing. He kind of wanders off from the group, and they can't find him. So they look and they look and they look, but they come home with this whole story that, he's left behind, and he's considered a missing soldier. So this is what they carry home with them. And I can tell you that this is a really well done movie. The cinematography was on point. There's great action sequences. The character development is solid. It moves along at a nice clip. I mean, I wouldn't put it in the same category with say, a Saving Private Ryan or a Hacksaw Ridge, but this is on its own, this is a solid movie, and it's definitely worth our attention. And I can tell you that, in the words of Jay, the ending of this movie is just an absolute gut punch. I agree with him 100%, and I also agree that from beginning to end, this is a really solid movie. So yeah, whether you rent it or buy it or stream it, definitely give it a look. If you don't want to take a chance, if you're worried about the reviews, you don't want to spend the $20 or whatever it is for the new release, I know you can stream it on Vudu for maybe $3, or you could probably, it's a new release, so you can definitely Redbox it. But whatever you do, definitely give Yellowbirds a look, because it's a good one. It's worth our time. So, totally changing gears, my second pick is stars Jeremy Renner, Ed Helms, and John Hamm, to name a few, and it is Tag. And I know this is another one that kind of got marginal reviews when it was in the theater, but I decided to take a chance and give it a look. And this is based on a true story of a group of friends who have been playing the same game of tag for 30 years for the month of May. And ultimately, what this is a story, it's about friendship. It's a story about friendship. And they have their one friend, played by Jeremy Renner, his name is Jerry. And the thing is that Jerry has never been tagged. And Ed Helms tells everyone at the beginning of the movie that Jerry has decided that this is going to be his last year and he's quitting. So that would kind of be the end of the game. They also find out that Jerry, unbeknownst to everyone, is getting married in May, and of course hasn't invited any of his friends, because he would be a sitting duck to get tagged at his own wedding. So their mission, the group's mission, is to get themselves into Jerry's wedding, ultimately to tag him. And I can tell you that this movie was a lot of fun. I wouldn't say it was so much laugh out loud fun, but it was just fun. It was an easy movie to watch. It moves along at a nice clip. There's some fun action sequences. I mean, I don't know how realistic it was, because they go diving out of windows and things like that. I don't know who could survive some of these things. And there's a pretty bad golf cart crash that I don't know that anyone could walk away as unscathed as they did. But this is a lot of fun and a lot of laughs, and ultimately, like I said, it's a movie about friendships and the bonds we make, and how important it is to work at keeping those friendships together in any way that you can and still have fun in life. And there's a little twist at the end that really made this, I didn't see it coming, but there is a little twist at the end of this that really made it a very heartwarming story, and I think it kind of tied it all together really well. But this is fun, and you're going to laugh, and it's an easy watch. And like I said, I don't know that you necessarily have to buy it as a new release. If you want to wait for a price drop, that's fine. But you can rent it, you can stream it, you can Redbox it. But anyway, I would say, yeah, definitely give Tag a look, because it's just one of those really easy movies to watch. And as a side note, make sure you watch it until the end credits, because they actually show the real people and the lengths that they went to pull off these pranks to tag one another. The get-ups and the costumes and the disguises, it is so funny. That was almost funnier than the movie. The outtakes were great. So yeah, definitely give Tag a look. It's a good one. And then this last one, I cannot take responsibility for finding this. This was actually suggested to me by one of my Instagram friends, Casey James. At Casey James is his Instagram handle. I'm going to link him in the description box down below. He has a nice Instagram page. He has good taste in movies, and he's a nice guy. Go ahead over to Instagram, give him a follow, check out his page. He's got a lot of good movies on there. And this one stars Ryan Reynolds. It's from 2014, and it is called The Voices. And right on the front, it says Weird and Funny. And we have another Jerry. Ryan Reynolds plays Jerry, who works in a bathtub manufacturing plant. They make bathtubs. And he seems like a happy-go-lucky, well-adjusted guy. He's a little overly friendly, but he's fine. And early on in the movie, we find out that he also has a court-appointed psychiatrist who he has to see because he hears voices. And this is something that we find out that he inherited from his mother. It's a condition that his mother had that he also has inherited. And the psychiatrist asks him, are you hearing the voices? Are you taking the medicine? And he's like, well, I do hear the voices every once in a while, and sometimes I take the medicine. And she says, listen, Jerry, You can't be non-compliant. You have to take the medicine. Otherwise, I have to report you, and then they're going to put you away. And Jerry has already spent time in an asylum, so he does not want to be put away. When he goes home, we find out that he talks to his cat, Mr. Whiskers, and Bosco, his dog. And I can tell you, Mr. Whiskers is not a very nice cat. He's a little bit mean. But these are his friends, and these are the voices that he hears. And he has these conversations back and forth with the cat and the dog. And the dog says to him, listen, take the medicine. So Jerry takes the medicine, and lo and behold, the voices stop. And Jerry starts to freak out because Jerry has a real fear of being alone. And this is when we start to see, it's a funny movie, and there are some typical Ryan Reynolds funny, but there are some real sad, emotionally heartbreaking moments, and this is one of them. And you see that real fear of being alone. So he dumps the medicine, and he figures, you know what, the heck with it, I'm gonna hear the voices. So he's back to work, and Jerry has a crush on one of the girls who works in the office, and he asks her out on a date, and she stands him up. And this is when things really start to come undone for him. And I don't want to tell you anything else about the plot because I don't want to ruin this movie. But what I can tell you is we start to get glimpses of what Jerry believes is reality and what is reality. And it is a terribly sad, scary, heartbreaking situation. And you really see the true depth of his mental illness. And especially in the third act, we start to see a lot of Jerry's backstory. And it's a really sad story. And if I had to compare this movie to anything, I would kind of say it's a little bit like Serial Mom, with the exception that in Serial Mom, she didn't really seem to care. She just ran around and did what she wanted to do and didn't care. And Jerry really does care. He wants to be a good guy. He wants to do the right thing. But sometimes he does the wrong thing. And that's what I'm going to leave you with. But I have not seen anything as creative and witty as The Voices in a long time. This is a really different kind of movie, and it's a different role for Ryan Reynolds. So if you want to see him in something really unique and really different, take a look at The Voices. I would say this one's even worth a buy. I'm not sure how much it is on Amazon, but I'll link it in the description below because I really think this is one, once you see the ending and you see Jerry's story, you're going to see it through different eyes when you give it a rewatch. So yeah, definitely check out The Voices. It's a good one, and I'm so glad, and thank you, Casey, for recommending it. So those are my picks for home, and as for the theater, we still have the kind of same group that's out there. We have Mission Impossible, Crazy Rich Asians, Christopher Robin. We also have Alpha, which is a story of a young, it takes place like in the Ice Age, and we have a young boy who's been separated from his family, so he's alone, and he finds a wolf who has been separated from his pack, and he's alone. So together, I guess they try to make this the beginning of the story of man's best friend. So they show how the dog and the boy kind of get through life together and survive. And then the other one, the one I'm going to see, is called Searching. And I know I talked about this last week, but apparently it didn't open wide because a lot of people said they couldn't find it. But it seems to be opening wide this week, so I'm going to go and check it out. This is the one where the guy he's FaceTiming with his daughter, who I believe is about 16 years old, so she must be away at it was either boarding school or college. I think it's boarding school. Anyway, she goes missing, and the police tell him to do what he can do to kind of meet her, get information from her friends so they can start to figure out where this girl might be. And ultimately what the father finds out is that he doesn't know anything about his daughter. He doesn't know her at all. And that's kind of what I got from the trailer. And this is getting really high marks across the board. So after I see it this weekend, I'll be able to give you a lot more information next week. But it looks like it's going to be a really good one. And one that I did leave out last week is the Happy Land Murders, which stars Melissa McCarthy and some puppets. And apparently there's a serial killer out who's only killing puppets. And it's getting beat up by the critics, but I'll tell you, the moviegoers seem to really enjoy it, and it sounds like a really funny concept. So if you're into that kind of thing, I would say give it a look, give it a try, because the audience members seem to really like it. And honestly, I tend to go more with the audience than the critics most of the time. So if you're and I think Jim Henson's son did this movie, so check that one out. It looks good. And then the new one that's opening up this week is called The Little Stranger, and I'm going purely by the trailer. It looks like a timepiece. It is rated R, they said, for some gore and blood, so it kind of looks like it's a drama, thriller, horror type of thing. A guy is called to a home where I guess his mother had been the housekeeper for years, so he knows the family. He's there to check out a guy who I guess has post-traumatic stress syndrome from a war that had gone on, whatever war is going on. And he's there to kind of assess his situation. And while he's there, he finds out that they had a younger sibling, I guess, who had passed away. I don't know when. But apparently her spirit is still there and haunting the house. So it seems to be like a straight up haunted house, thriller, drama, horror type of movie. So definitely check out the trailer for that one, because that looks like the best one opening up this week. So those are my picks for the theater. And hopefully between the home pile and the theater pile, you guys will find something to keep you happy for this nice long weekend we have coming up. And I want to thank you guys as always for watching. You know I appreciate it. If you enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up. Leave me some comments, like, share, do whatever you want, subscribe, hit the bell, you know the drill, do whatever you like, because I appreciate everything. Even if you watch this for 2 minutes, I appreciate it. And that's going to do it for me today, so until next time, that's a wrap.